You're listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.
It's Tuesday, June 9. I'd like to share some thoughts about CEOs. So, if you look at the landscape right now, imagine you're handed this massive $6.5 billion blueprint for the future of AI.
Right, which sounds incredible on paper.
Exactly. But then you realize the financial models and the human capital pipelines needed to actually build the thing are suddenly fracturing right beneath you.
Yeah, and that is exactly the friction point we are seeing today. I mean, if you are a multinational executive mapping out your Asia strategy, well, your baseline assumptions are just colliding with some very aggressive new realities in Korea across infrastructure, capital costs, and talent.
Let's start with the physical footprint, right? Because Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang just did this major sweep through Seoul. He was holding direct meetings with leadership across all the major K-ball, which, for our listeners, are Korea's massive family-controlled conglomerates like SK, LG, and Hyundai.
Yeah, and this was not just a standard vendor check-in at all. I mean, Naver, Korea's dominant search platform, they are mapping out a 1 gigawatt global AI factory.
A full gigawatt. Wow.
A full gigawatt, exactly. And meanwhile, Hyundai is proposing a 9 trillion won, so roughly $6.5 billion co-investment with Nvidia. This is for a data center and robotics plant down in Saemangeum, which is this huge reclaimed land zone on the West Coast.
So the scale here is just wild. It's like Korea's evolving from merely selling the bricks, supplying memory chips, to suddenly building the entire smart city. They want an integrated, sovereign AI testbed.
Precisely. And this completely changes the strategic calculus for executives. We're talking about a structural shift from a manufacturing hub to an AI platform. When you scale up to a 1 gigawatt facility, you aren't just plugging in servers, you are forcing a total redesign of regional energy grids.
Right, you need power, lots of it.
Exactly. So if your 2026 operational plans still assume the old manufacturing model, your compute and energy projections are already obsolete. So definitely keep an eye out for a formal Saemangeum MOU, which should materialize in the second half of 2026.
But wait, hold on a second. A 1 gigawatt facility. I mean, Hyundai wants to drop 9 trillion won right when the Bank of Korea is actively squeezing corporate financing. How does that math even work for a CFO? Because Korea's 3-year government bond, the primary benchmark, just cleared at 4.0%.
Yeah, for the first time in 42 months, too.
Exactly. And weak demand forced a 1 trillion won cut to the auction volume. So if capital and energy are getting this expensive, doesn't that immediately squeeze the aggressive margins executives are banking on for these new AI projects?
Oh, absolutely. It is a severe squeeze. You have executives trying to finance these generational investments, but the underlying capital is suddenly much more expensive. The Bank of Korea's governor is signaling a very clear tightening path.
I even saw Citi flagging a scenario for an emergency rate hike meeting this June.
Right, which is huge. And it isn't just borrowing costs. You also have Peacock, the state-owned electricity utility, currently carrying 206 trillion won, or about 149 billion dollars in debt. They have absolutely no choice but to push that onto industrial electricity tariffs.
So energy is going to cost a premium.
Exactly. If you're a CFO, the direct implication is that you have to fundamentally reprice your 2026 and 2027 Korea financing against a 3.50% terminal rate. You just cannot bake in cheap capital or cheap power anymore.
So what is the next indicator to watch there?
Watch the June 10 U.S. CPI release. That data will heavily influence the BOK governor's communications regarding that potential emergency meeting.
Okay, so the hardware and capital costs in Korea are tightening fast. But while Korea wrestles with the infrastructure and the cash, China is making this massive parallel play for the actual humans who will run the AI.
Yeah, China's talent absorption strategy is incredibly systematic right now. For instance, Huawei recently ran an ICT competition that drew 220,000 participants, and they are heavily targeting developing economies in the global south.
It is a staggering number of people.
It really is. And domestically, China rolled out the K-visa, which allows STEM graduates direct entry without needing employer sponsorship. Then you add Shenzhen's Peacock plan, deploying $1.38 billion purely for startup funding.
It's like they aren't just buying lumber, right? They're planting an entirely new forest, securing long-term market access by training the future foreign procurement deciders on Chinese architecture.
That's exactly the mechanism driving this. They are securing that access early, and simultaneously they're placing very strict exit restrictions on domestic tech engineers at major private firms. So the core executive assumption of free talent mobility across Asia is ending.
Meaning you are structurally constrained.
Right. You need to prepare for a constrained market. Watch for how the market digests this shift during technical liquidity events, like the upcoming June 11 KOSPI quadruple witching.
Got it.
So I will leave the C-suite listeners with this critical question. As these regional tech blocks solidify, how insulated is your specific talent pipeline against systematic state-backed recruitment drives?
That's today's AI Prism, CEOs. This episode was produced with AI assistance based on Seoul Economic Daily reporting and reviewed by a human editor. AI Prism is a Wan Ifrai award-winning series. We'll be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.